Welcome back to the Voices for Blogging podcast, where we have faces for radio and voices for blogging. You can find us on the Podbean app, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your favorite podcasts. In Los Angeles, as always, is Roy Samano, and here in Honolulu, I'm Steve Lee. It's February 25th. How you doing there, Royce?
25th. Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Been glued to my TV the last 2 days now with what's going on in the world. Some craziness.
Things escalated a little bit since our last episode. I'm really excited that we're getting a second episode in 2 weeks. That's quite a run for us, man.
It's commitment. It's commitment.
Killer commitment.
Dedication.
Dedication.
Dedication right there.
We're recording on a Friday night because Royce wanted to have a little sauce with his podcast this weekend, so we decided to put
Sacrifices. It's the sacrifices I'm making.
roller coaster markets we've had in both crypto and in the stock market. Real big sell off to start the day a couple days ago, and then snap back right away in the stock market, and it hasn't looked back in the last 2 days. What do you think about all that?
Well, people do not like uncertainty. Investors don't like uncertainty. And with Russia invading Ukraine, there was a lot of uncertainty, and the threat of even invading Ukraine, there's a lot of uncertainty. But typically, if you look at like a lot of these wars or invasions, what's actually happened, they did look back for, I think, like the last like 10, 15 like invasions or things like that. And what's typically happened is that right before the forces go in, the market dumps, and then in the weeks and months after, it actually goes up, which is kind of like what's happening here right now, at least.
Yeah, I mean the way the market really bounced back yesterday sharply. I mean it opened sharply lower and almost immediately started to climb back, and it found some buyers. Sometimes it felt like it was partly the capitulation that some analysts have been waiting for in the stock market as it's trickled lower for the last month or so, month and a half. And it almost felt like there was some capitulation to that selling off in the beginning of the market yesterday, and it was met with buyers. And I would imagine eventually short people covering their shorts because towards the end of the market, it really accelerated to the upside.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of what it
and it could
sounds like.
yeah, and it continued today. It carried on today. It didn't sell off today, which tends to be a pretty good indicator that we're finding some footing.
Hope so. But it's been a crazy couple of years, with COVID, and now
Hmm.
now this instability in the world with Russia and Ukraine and NATO. It's been really interesting to see what's been playing out. I mean, not interesting. Maybe interesting is not the best word, but it's been. I think the world is anxious.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some part of what's going on is everyone getting familiar with the history in Eastern Europe and remembering, the breakup of the USSR and all the states that came out of that. And I don't know. Like we talked about this pre-show. Like there's so much about this. I think being so far away from it that we don't understand. And it'd be interesting to see what the sanctions that were put on by European countries and by the U.S. on Russia. We'll see if it makes an effect. There's a change, kind of what's happening. But the one part where they haven't cut off the spigot is, how they get paid for their oil, and that's an interesting thing that that last sanction that they haven't kind of put on the Russians.
They're starting to talk about that now, but for me, I never thought that we would go. I would never thought that I would see us kind of turning back the clock in terms of what's happening in the world. I mean, in the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, right? We made a lot of progress.
Yep.
When they broke down the Berlin Wall in
Yep.
Germany back in, what was that, in the late 80s or early 90s, late
That was
80s, I think,
Reagan.
right?
That was Reagan.
Yes.
That was
Yeah,
Reagan.
Gorbachev,
Yep.
you break up with the Soviet Union, all of these things. And it just seems like we're kind of swinging back a little bit the other way now. I think that this is the closest that we've been to a like a war between two entities that have nuclear weapons in
Mm-hmm.
the forever.
Right.
And it's really crazy.
I mean, it feels like nobody wants to go there, but at the same time, it's a possibility because everyone's equipped with them. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, have you been listening to Putin's speeches?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're
I
you
mean,
know,
he's
it's
threatening. He's been making threats to use them. It just seems like he's in a not good place, I guess is the best way to put it.
so right. So, what's making him desperate, or what's behind this? Right is the question. What's really behind all of this?
He's been
Yeah, I
locked
don't
up
know.
under COVID rules
maybe
for too long.
maybe Diaries of a Madman. I don't know.
Every everyone's come out and driving crazy and getting a little cuckoo, and like maybe he's no different. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. So it'd be
But
interesting to see how this plays out.
I mean, if you watched his cabinet meeting the day of the invasion, I think they did a broadcast of it. A lot of this stuff was pre-recorded too.
Right. Propaganda, man.
Based on the based on the metadata that that they
Yeah.
looked at the recorded video. But his meeting with his cabinet even it seems very disjointed.
Hmm.
Like it seemed like some of his cabinet members were even confused about what they were supposed to
What's the
say and what they were not supposed to
mhm.
say,
What's the
which
mission,
is
right?
it's very strange. Yeah,
Yeah. Dictatorship, man. It ain't a democracy. It's a farce of a democracy, right? Although they're voting and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
it's not a democracy.
yeah, this was the concern when he took the reins. That when Yeltsin was there and these type of things, and you tried to create a democratic society in Russia, it failed. It didn't. It didn't. It didn't work.
Yeah,
You can see where
but
turning back the clock becomes, a potential, motivating point or catalyst to doing these things.
I will say that one of the good things about social media is what they've allowed young people to share. Like so, people in Ukraine have been able to share their experience, like on the ground, with
Hmm.
their kids.
Hmm.
Some of these kids are posting TikToks in Russia and in Ukraine about what's happening with them, and I think to be able to see the people behind it, right? It's usually the countries that choose to go to war. It's usually the government that chooses to go to war, not the people, right? Typically,
Right.
people want to live their lives, live safely, have food, have clothes, all those kinds of things. It's usually the governments that are the ones that go to war, and it's been pretty apparent, I think, in some of the protests that are happening in Moscow and around the world, and the humanity I think that's been showed on some of these social media platforms. So it's been that's been encouraging, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Russia inside of Russia can control the information a lot of times. So that goes in and out of that place. And we were talking pre-show, like we wonder, like how many Russians have drank the Kool-Aid, as far as is fully behind Putin, or or getting dragged kicking and screaming into all this because they're the ones suffering as a result of these sanctions that the West is putting on Russia.
But they will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there's propaganda in every country, though. It's hard to you have to be able to think critically, I think, and try to listen to different sources.
It's interesting, though, right? You're looking at all the athletes, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian athletes. 100% same message: no war, stop fighting.
Yeah, yeah,
So that speaks to what you're talking about, where this is the governments, right? This is this is the usual mechanics of why these things are happening. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's
yeah.
see what it does. I mean, it definitely has proven the point again that cryptocurrency is not some some safe haven from these type of events, like some people tried to make it out to be in early days.
Well,
Yeah.
in terms of being a hedge against like inflation or adverse events, right? Like I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But have you been following what's happening in Canada with the truckers
Yes.
and their
Yes.
supporters and how they
Yeah.
basically shut down
They're
their
getting.
bank accounts?
Yeah.
That's that to me that's crazy. And so like that's kind of what crypto is for, right? it's the censorship resistance, right? Like you can't
Yeah, and
shut
that's how they
down
were getting.
someone's
That's how they were
crypto
getting
account.
funded. Yeah, because they were getting
Yeah,
funded. They were getting funded. The supporters of the truckers were funding them with cryptocurrency.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, interesting world, man. Interesting things. I mean, as we speak right now, I think Ethereum has clawed its way back close to about 2,800, and Bitcoin is knocking on the door of 40,000. Like this is, this is promising that at least things are starting to work their way back up.
yeah. We shall see.
How long it
But
lasts.
yep. So what's going on in Hawaii?
Well, so being February 25th, today is the day the CDC came out with their new guidance on mask mandates. And you know, I, so it really is, if you were of the belief that you were following the science and you're tracking the science, this is
Uh oh.
this is the time.
Uh
But this is the time to take. This is the time that it's okay, right? If you were saying that, and I'm saying that for a reason, because in Hawaii, the government has said over and time again, that their moves will be in lockstep essentially with the CDC. So the CDC comes out today and they come up with their new mask mandate, or basically taking away the mask mandate, and Governor Ige has
Is it
decided to leave it on
so? Is they took away the mask mandate? Is it only for the outside? Or is it for outside and inside now?
inside. Yeah, this is
Oh,
this is
really?
the
Wow, I didn't know that.
this is the change. This is what the CDC has been telegraphing for about the probably the last 10 days. Making the rounds on TV. Anytime you start seeing Walensky and Fauci on TV a lot in a very short amount of time, they're priming it, right? They're ready to make a change. So the rationale here to keep masking on was, well, the CDC hasn't changed their guidance. Well, they did today, and Ige came out and said, "No, we're not changing for now."
Yeah.
While every state's doing it, and for me, it's really no skin off my back. Like it doesn't matter to me a whole bunch, because for me, when the mandate does go away, I'll give all the clients and patients and athletes the choice. If they want to wear it while they're in my facility, they can wear it. If you don't want to, you don't want to. I
Yeah.
mean, because if we trusted the science to get us this far, the science is saying we can. So
Is it though? But
yeah, it is.
anyway, regardless. So like the CDC said, like maybe a few weeks ago now that masking wasn't necessary outside.
100%.
So yeah, so some people have not been wearing masks. Some people have. It's
Hmm.
weird because for me, I feel like I want to wear a mask even though
Hmm.
I don't need to. But then when I go on the golf course, I don't wear it because
What's
I'm just so
outdoors?
far. Like you're outdoors, yeah.
The the
It's a
the
weird.
way It's a psychological thing right now. The challenge we're going to have moving forward with the new mandate, or the lack of mandate, or the adjustment to the mandate. The challenge we're moving forward is the adjustment of the people that were for masks and understood why we were wearing them. But then you also have the ones that were so fearful that this adjustment is going to be really hard for them.
Yeah. Look, man, I have a different reason. I invested a lot of money in these masks. I'm not dumping them.
You're stupid. So I mean, because the strategy that they're going with moving forward is that they want to have the ability to tell people, hey, it's time to put the mask back on. So if you make a change or you give people a break from it, it's easier to come back later and say, hey, there's a variant that's starting to load up the hospitals. It's time to kind of put the mask back on,
Yeah. Mine
because
is
this
all
is,
about fashion, dude.
well,
Bottom
you got to
line.
make sure you make a statement. You're in LA, so
I'm gonna get that one that I forget who it was that had it. It was just like this mesh,
mhm,
like this mesh mask. It doesn't prevent anything from going through. It just looks cool.
mhm. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how this transition goes. I mean, obviously, it greatly affects the economy. The places where the mandate didn't change, though, is for things like riding on planes. All those things, you still have to wear a mask when you're in a plane. And
Oh
public
man, so I'm gonna have to. I'm not. I have to wear a mask next week then,
when you come back to home in a few
dude. You
days.
might
It's
see
not even next week. You're coming home in a few
It's a few
days.
days. It's next Tuesday. It's like 4 days from now, as of this recording.
as of this recording. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I mean, I've been in Waikiki the last couple of days and looking around. I mean, there's a lot more. There seemingly more people out and about. A lot more tourists just kind of hanging out, just doing their thing. Um, hey, you know, Omicron may have had more infections, but it definitely had a lot smaller percentage of people that went to the hospital and died. So that's
Yeah, I think
progress.
that was a good.
That's
I think that
progress.
was a good thing.
That's what I mean. Where the science is showing us that hey, it is what it is. You know, it's just 2022, not 2021 or 2020. You know, and the
Yeah,
constant adjustment. But the challenge is mentally, like getting people to understand that this is evolving. This is an evolving situation, right? I mean, and it's evolving to the point where we're going to live with it, and that's where we are.
yeah. I just hope we don't get another crazy variant.
We
That's what all
probably
I'm
will.
hoping for.
We probably will, but if it doesn't send people to the hospital, then you know, we don't get a
Yeah,
whole bunch of
that's fine.
fatalities.
That's fine.
Then we're fine. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. So I
That's
mean,
what I want.
that's the point, right? That's the point of all of this. That was the point of all of this for the last few years. So we'll see. I think there's gonna be a lot of people pretty upset here, though, because you know it's that thing of you pull the carpet out, right? Because if you say you're gonna follow, and then when it comes out and things change and you don't follow, that's gonna upset some people. It's gonna be interesting in the next week or so.
We'll wait and see.
You'll be here. You'll be here to
I
see.
will be
You will
there.
be
I
here
will
to
be there.
hear some people, you know, getting all crazy about it. You know, hey, to each his own. As far as like you know, if you get excited about these things. But what are things like now that because the mandate for you guys is down, right? Your mask mandate, they lifted it, didn't
So
they?
the mask. No. So the state of California did.
Right.
The county of LA did not. We're in the. So there's 3 tiers, based on the infection rate, I think,
Right.
and we're still in the highest tier in LA County. But I think after today or next week, we'll likely move into the middle tier. In
Yeah.
which case, I think some of the restrictions go away. I don't remember exactly what they were now, but that's supposedly how it works.
Yeah. The CDC recommended if you were in a low or medium risk area, you can take away your mask mandate. But it's
Yeah,
all dictated by you know where you are, localities, and all that stuff.
yeah.
So I
So
don't
yeah, we
know.
still have it for now indoors, but we'll see.
Hmm.
But I mean, look, if actually they did take it away, I think for large events
They did because
because
I read things today that said LA County took them away. If you're vaccinated, like
at large
good luck.
events, yes,
Yeah,
I think
good luck
that's how it
policing
was. Yeah,
that, though, right? Yeah,
but to be fair, I mean, yeah. Well, did
they
so at the
opened it
Super Bowl
up,
they did check
right?
at the Super Bowl they did check, and like to be honest, 99% of people
Nobody
there were
were.
not wearing masks.
Well,
So
okay, so I'm reading something right now, and I saw this earlier today, but I was going to rely on you since you live there. But today was the day that they're allowing unmasking indoors at bars, restaurants, and other businesses for people that showed that they're vaccinated, and that's it.
oh really?
That was today.
I
That
wonder.
happened
Huh?
today.
Interesting.
So the headline
I wonder
is
if they're checking.
Los Angeles County eases COVID-19 indoor mask mandate. So,
Hmm.
and I thought I'd read that earlier today, but I was going to say, man, you're the one that's in LA, man.
Well, I haven't been out today either, so
It's time
I'm
to get out.
dedicated to making this podcast,
It's
so I couldn't go out.
it's time to get out.
I'm super dedicated.
It's time to get out into the world, Royce. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We got to get our friend Kanye on the show and let him kind of give his view of some of these things because I know we're not on opposite ends of the spectrum, but he might be further down one end of the spectrum. Let's welcome to the show, Kanye. Ken, how you doing? Long time no hear, long
What's
time
going
no
on?
see.
Hey, what's up,
Through the
guys?
through the power of podcasting, we brought him on
Like
Can you guys hear
Royce
me?
and I got
with
bored
no
talking to
delay.
each other. Yeah, we started. We got bored talking to each other, so we said, "Let's call Ken up. Let's see what he's doing." All right. First
So
question, Ken. First question,
It's been a
Ken.
while.
Top 5 movies all time.
Wow, wow, that's a loaded question, man.
Top five. Top five.
Oh,
Let's go.
all time, huh?
Yep.
What's number one? Actually,
No order.
nah, maybe we should
Okay.
start with five. So
No,
yeah,
but
okay,
the
no order,
top
no
five,
order.
top five, no order. Okay, so that makes it easier. Just
Wow.
your five movies where you're like, yeah,
Man,
these are of the best ones I've seen.
it's really, really, really hard question because I've watched a ton of movies over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a huge movie buff, so
Mm-hmm.
so this is like a big deal. Like what is my all-time favorite movie?
Oh,
Um,
maybe we should
man,
maybe we should save this for another episode. If you just said
yeah,
movie buff, dude, I don't know. Maybe,
I am a
maybe
major movie buff. So
this is a little teaser. Maybe this is a little teaser.
Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah.
Roll. Give us at least 3 of the 5. How about that?
oh man. Well, I'm a big nerd, so Lord of the Rings has got to be the first one. The Fellowship of the Ring has to be at least on the top five because I mean it's something I kind of grew up with. I've been I'm a big D&D player, so and it's I watched it when it first came out in the theaters, and it was I was waiting for that movie even before it came out, and I was like I knew it was in production. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a great movie, and it's like it blew me away. So I think that's gonna be up there.
Okay.
I don't know. I think he just likes the elves.
I do.
What was the?
I do like
Hey,
Owen.
hey,
I
this
do
is
love
a
Tyler.
hey, this is a family show. I don't know what you guys talk about elves. Come on, man.
elves.
Sorry.
Elves and arrows, and I don't need to hear these things.
That'll be in the metaverse.
Yeah.
That'll be the metaverse conversation.
I got one more. Okay. I give you at least a couple because
Yeah.
there's movies that I watch over and over again, and that's kind of how I'm determining like what is my favorite. The one I watch over and over again, believe it or not, and this is probably not like a top movie that most people would watch, is Coraline. I don't know if you guys remember this movie back, in 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really like I didn't read the book, but the movie just I don't know spoke to me. It was really interesting. It's yeah,
Well,
it's right up there.
so that's curious. So like, what about it spoke to you? Because I actually thought it was kind of a little bit of a dark movie, right? Like
very
it
dark.
was very, yeah, it was
Super
very
dark.
like for a kids movie. It was pretty
Oh,
dark.
yeah, it's just maybe Neil Gaiman is one of the probably the my favorite artist, comic book artist, whatever, writer.
Wait, Neil Diamond,
Um,
as in Sweet Caroline Neil Diamond? What are you talking about here?
no, Neil Gaiman.
Oh,
Neil
Gaiman. Ah, I thought we are going ba here, man. What's going
Yeah,
on?
now you
Yeah,
now you're getting into Steve's wheelhouse. But
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, he's a writer, comic, graphic novelist, and he's just really talented. This whole thing with like mixture of fantasy and dreams, it kind of really spoke to me. It made me, I looked at the world that she lived in, Coraline, and kind of like her escape from that reality
Mm-hmm.
and into this other world that was just so haunting and detailed.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like living in a nightmare in a way. But it started out like a dream and it ended up in a nightmare, right? I mean,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I guess I could spoil whatever spoilers. It's been around for a long time, so
spoiler alert.
yeah, spoiler alert.
Kanye, the
But
spoiler.
it is if you want to escape fantasy for a little, escape reality for a little bit, I think this would be a great movie.
So
to
that's
kind
in
of
the top
escape.
5 of all your movies, huh? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
how about this? I got a better question. The movie you're embarrassed that you like so much.
No, that's a good one.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Do you guys have any? I mean, I'll turn it back on you guys.
Oh, hey,
You guys
you can't
have any
answer a
movies
question with a question. You're up.
Oh.
You're a guest.
Oh man, embarrassed.
I have to say, when you asked that question to him, I started turning in my mind like, what is a movie that I like that I'm embarrassed about?
Or
I
like
have to go back
maybe,
and research.
Maybe embarrassed isn't the right word, but it's one that you're not going to readily admit at a party that I've watched that about 100 times.
If
not more.
That's good.
Like you're not going to be shouting it from a mountaintop. That like, man, this movie.
I will say this, just giving Ken some time here. I've probably watched Titanic quite a bit. Like, I'm not gonna
Wow,
I'm not gonna lie.
But that's one of the most
I'm,
popular movies
I'm
of
not
all
gonna
time.
lie.
You know,
Does
box office
And
wise,
it's
right?
it's one of the
it doesn't
hey,
it doesn't mean it was good.
when, why is it that when I say that, like, everyone always makes fun of me, dude? I don't
See,
understand.
that's the point. That was the
It's
point.
got
It's a
Leo,
chick flick.
dude.
It is a chick flick, right? That's
It's got-
probably why, because
Whoa,
guys
whoa,
are not supposed to
whoa,
like it.
whoa.
Women are supposed to like
Slow
Titanic,
down,
right?
dude.
But that's not
Slow
true.
down, dude. It was an action movie. There's a boat.
Hey.
There's an iceberg.
And it had Billy
There are
Zane.
guns.
Like if Billy Zane's in a movie, like I'm in. Like absolutely.
Exactly.
But, it's interesting because, like, there's movies that you like, and then there's movies you probably, like, a lot of people wouldn't like,
For
or
sure.
readily admit that you'll like. But if you get the same kind of enjoyment out of it, I mean, I don't know. I think
Is he cushioning the fall right now, Ricey? Is he padding his landing right now? Yeah,
He's setting
He's
setting
setting-
expectations right
yeah,
now.
he's setting this up right now. This is pretty good setup there, Ken.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
I
you already
actually really
admitted
liked Elf. I
Elf.
liked Elf. That was one
That's
I
nothing to
probably
be
wouldn't have.
embarrassed
Oh,
about. That's a
hey,
big
you know what?
It's a
You know
kid-
what?
It's a kid
Ken,
thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I like Elf too.
dude. Elf is great.
Might be, maybe
might be-
for
might be
different
Will-
reasons.
Elf right me like Will Ferrell's. I mean, he didn't even expect it to be as good as it turned out. Like that's the best part. Like he readily
Yeah.
admits that movie, he thought that might have been the last movie he ever made when he was making it. Because he
Really?
just
Well-
he did not think the movie was going to take off the way it did, and not just take off, but become a Christmas classic. I mean, it is year to year now. It's in people's wheelhouse for Christmas movies. It's a must see for Christmas for a lot of people.
Well, I don't watch that movie because of Will Ferrell.
You watched it for
Let's just put it that way.
Zoe Deschanel, right? That's
Yeah.
why you watched it, because she
No.
was very cute back, when she was very young
See,
back then. I think.
But Ken, I
what
can't
I-
let
what
you
I
off
meant
the
is
hook,
that-
man. That's not a movie that's it's shameful to say you like.
Oh boy.
Really. I see. This is how you know he's hiding something really good, and he doesn't want to say it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one that I would say I was embarrassed that I liked. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that jumps out. Like, I mean, there are movies that I like that you wouldn't expect an adult to like, or a guy to like. But like there's like a lot of chick flicks I like. I mean, I like like Just Friends with
I know. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, right? Like you wouldn't like that. I mean, like kind of like the reason you were a little embarrassed to talk about Titanic, right? I'm like,
Oh, I'm not
Just
embarrassed.
Friends.
No,
See,
Ro-
I'm not
Royce-
embarrassed.
Royce
I'm
will
not
wave the
embarrassed.
flag. Royce waves the flag. It's okay.
I'm not embarrassed.
Like you know when Royce and I get close to the beach here, like in Hawaii when he's here, like he puts his arms up, like he's in the front of the boat.
Oh,
I'm the
nice.
king of the world.
Yeah.
He's kind of embarrassing to take to Waikiki with me, so I keep my distance when
You guys-
we're in Waikiki.
You guys don't know how many times. You guys don't know how many times I've been on a boat and I've done that.
Thanks, Royce.
Is there a movie that you thought was so bad that was so good?
Still
Like, any
didn't answer the
movies that you
question.
guys like
Still
that-
didn't answer. Wait,
that-
is just
Okay.
Friends the answer to your question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm embarrassed to like it, but it's probably not something that I would have expected myself to like so much, right? I tend to like action films. I like some of those like dreamy, like things with dreams are big for me. Like stuff like Inception, Coraline, kind of live in another world, like Avatar, things like that.
Mm.
So I like those kind of movies. It kind of takes you away from reality for a little bit. I mean, that's the whole point of going to movies, just to take you away from life for a little bit, right?
Yeah. A psychologist would have a field day with that answer there, buddy. So
Like that. So Ken had a good question, right? Like, what was a movie that you watched that was so bad that it was good? And one of the ones I can think of is, you remember that movie Driven? It was Sylvester Stallone and like some other guy. It was about like race cars,
okay.
like Indy.
Yeah.
I think I might have
Oh,
the
I do remember it.
I might
do
have the
remember it.
DVD somewhere. It was so bad. It was funny. Like I don't remember. The acting was just like not it was just really incongruent with everything. And I mean, and Stallone is a good actor. Like,
Oh, he
Oh
was in the
God!
film. I don't think I
Yeah.
watched it. Stallone, huh?
oh, dude,
Did
I'll,
you-
I'll
did-
give it to I'll give it to you, Ken. You gotta watch it.
Did you
Oh,
just say
no, I gotta-
Stallone's a really good actor? Is that what you said? I mean, I really.
Stallone.
I mean, I'll say this, Royce. I'll say this. Like, I was
Yes.
impressed when he came out of the mountain in Rambo: First Blood Part 2. Like, when you saw
Yes.
his eyes came out
Oh.
and then the knife came out.
Yeah.
Like, he showed him
Yeah.
the knife and he freaking stabbed the guy. That was good stuff.
Oh, that is pretty intense.
He's
You
been
know-
good in like he was good in Rocky, right? Like he's good
Yeah,
in
Rocky.
yeah.
Rambo.
Rocky
He's
one?
been in
In the first Rocky,
He's one
yes.
dimensional though. You know?
like
I mean,
whatever.
he's one dimensional, right?
Hey, I seen him at the golf course, man. I'm trying to give him a break.
You see him at the golf course? Funny.
I saw him one time at in Studio City at Whitsitt.
Hmm.
He was taking golf lessons. Like he's still a big dude, man.
So big, dude.
Yeah.
You know what's one movie I think that I thought was so bad, was so good was Gladiator. Not the Gladiator with Russell Crowe, but it's a boxing film. Probably back in
with
I
Cuba
saw that.
Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding
Cuba Gooding
Jr.
Jr.,
Yeah.
And
Like,
they're
that
light,
was so
they're
bad.
lightweight
The
gloves.
acting and everything was it was an awful, like, it was a low budget kind of a bad acting, bad script film. It was so good. It was so good. I loved it.
I've
I don't know how to
never
explain it.
actually seen that
Everything
movie.
I mean,
Everything
look,
was terrible in that, production
Right.
value wise,
sure.
acting.
But
Go
you
ahead.
know what? When you describe it that way, though, right? That's like you described every Van Damme movie in the early 90s.
Oh, I love those movies, man.
Poor production
I love those
value,
movies.
right? Horrible
Poor production.
acting, but oh my god,
Bloodsport,
I
another
can't
one.
stop watching it.
Chong Li.
Oh,
Chong
Bloodsport.
Jackson.
Oh my goodness! I mean, the
Frank
martial
Dukes.
arts ones are.
Frank
I mean,
Dukes.
you can basically say that about all the martial art films are like that, right? They're bad scripts, it's very predictable. There's not
Yeah.
really any romance or.
Oh no,
Yeah.
there's romance. There's romance in Bloodsport. There's romance with the
Well,
journalists.
Kickboxer had Mai Lee, right? Like they had Mai Lee and the
Yeah.
whole. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. No, I there's bad films that are just. I guess when you define bad as in just bad quality, bad production, like low production quality, low
Mhm.
budget,
Mhm.
acting's poor, but it could still be fun. It's still kind of enjoyable, right?
Well,
Yeah.
that was all those movies. That was Perfect Weapon. That was, Kickboxer.
Weapon.
Perfect Weapon. Eskrima sticks, man. Come on, like, dude.
American Ninja.
American Ninja, another one.
American
Really
Ninja.
poor, like
Hey.
low budget, but
Hey, No Retreat, No Surrender. You guys were watching that. Oh my god.
oh, it's funny.
I mean, remember watching Only the Strong with Mark Dacascos? The Capoeira one.
Oh, I do remember it.
And,
Oh,
re-
my
and
goodness,
remember
dude.
the villain's car was a Acura Legend. It was so low budget.
Wow.
An Acura Legend was the nice car in that movie.
But I mean, you could even say the Karate Kid was kind of
Hey, don't mess with don't.
low budget, like Mr. Miyagi and his fighting in that first movie was ridiculous. I mean, you saw like
Hey,
this, like,
hey.
You don't
so,
you don't think the
like,
crane technique is real?
Hey, sweep the leg, okay? Like
Oh,
any movie that gives us a line like sweep the leg, like all time,
wax on, wax off.
dude, all timers, 100%.
It was so enjoyable, but it was
Sweep
like
the leg,
the
man.
lines were so. But yeah. Anyway, that's. I will say in terms of the top five, I'll give you a few. Okay, I can't order them or anything, but I think these would be my top 10 for sure. Right, like World War Z for sure because I love zombie movies, and that was a great zombie movie, right? World War Z. I think Ip Man. That's a great martial arts film.
No, that one's good.
That was
Yeah.
a good movie, man. That was good acting, good fighting, good. I think something like Rounders. I don't know if you guys saw Rounders. That's a.
Yeah,
that's a really
I
good-
saw Rounders. Yeah.
Who
that's a
didn't
great
see
film.
Rounders? Who didn't see
Oh, man.
Rounders that
I
plays
know.
cards, man?
I mean, it got me into poker. I mean, that's the movie I watched that really got me into Hold'em. Because it was like awesome. Like this whole, Teddy KGB, man. Oh my goodness.
But you want to talk about bad acting, though? You want to talk about bad actings and bad accents? Teddy KGB. That was terrible. That is one of the
boy.
worst accents in movie history.
But it's like so good.
No, but his accent was terrible.
Oh my goodness.
But the character,
Hanging
yes,
around.
yeah,
Hanging around.
they splashed the pot, like whatever.
The kid cuts alligator blood.
Paid that man his money.
So bad.
It's terrible. But the movie was
Oh
great.
man.
Ed Norton, like, look at the cast. It was a great
Yeah,
cast.
but
Yeah,
that was an enjoyable movie to watch. I mean, it was fun to
Matt
watch.
Matt Damon. You know what? It's been so long since I saw that movie. Like that was the one where wasn't that the one where he was hiding that stash of money
Yep.
in like the ceiling or
Yeah,
something? Or
yeah. He's hiding it all. But that was really like I really enjoyed that movie, and it kind of
Absolutely.
got me into poker and the whole gambling thing, which is probably not a good thing, but
No, it's a great thing.
It's a
What are
good
you
thing.
talking
It's a
about?
good thing. It's a
Yeah,
good
what are you
thing.
talking
My
about?
life.
What are you talking about?
So,
There's
so you
never
know
been
what?
there's never been more money bet on a Super Bowl in history until this year. Like
Funny.
this year was the biggest
Oh my
Super
goodness.
Bowl in history.
Wow, it was not a good Super Bowl to bet on. Actually, I think like could have gone either way. It was close.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
but it made it
I
fun
think I
for
actually
betting.
have a number one. I think I have a number one favorite movie of all time.
Okay,
I should
go
have
for
that.
it.
Children of Men. I think that might be
Oh,
my
I,
all-time
I
favorite.
haven't seen that one. I know you
I
talked
didn't
about
watch
it
it.
before. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is probably my
I-
all-time
so actually-
favorite.
I think I remember you told me about that movie. I tried to
Yeah.
find it on streaming
Oh,
somewhere.
really?
They don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, especially if you look at the problems that are happening today, like in the world, especially with like immigration, you know, like illegal immigration and all those. Like it's so interesting, such an interesting film, and what incredible acting, incredible script, just really, you guys have to watch that movie. That's a great.
You know,
movie.
I'm just
I
glad.
actually watched it recently.
I'm just glad you didn't say "never-ending story" or something like that, man. Because
No,
I didn't know
No,
where you were
actually-
going with all that. I was bracing myself. So
Yeah, that is a good like the whole premise, and I won't ruin the whole movie for you, but the whole premise was like women are infertile in the whole world, like all the women in the world, nobody can give birth. That's the premise. Like you know, people are stopped procreating. They're like the youngest person on earth was like 18 years old, so there hasn't been a birth in 18 years,
Nah, it seems pretty
it's
dark,
incredible.
dude.
It's dark, but it's
Yeah.
so interesting. But yeah, it's a sci-fi film. And you know, if it's not my all-time favorite, it's at least my all-time favorite sci-fi film. For sure.
I'm gonna try to find that again just so I can watch
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's cool.
I'll make an effort to watch that. All right, but on that note, Ken, I mean, the other reason I'm going to bring you on is I always want you to share your thoughts on the world and all that's happening
Oh,
in its
dude.
glory in the last 5 to 7 days.
Oh,
Oh,
my
man.
goodness. Royce and I have been talking about this. Like we
Yeah.
were tweeting each other, you know, different. Like it's amazing what Twitter has become. You know, anyone with a phone and a Twitter account or a TikTok account has turned into a reporter,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on the ground. I saw this one video today of someone running around with their phone. You know, I think they're using TikTok, and they were filming like, you know, invasion units, Russian invasion units inside of Kiev, or Kiev, and they were like just like that guy could get shot. Like literally, he was just running around filming like people, like snipers or whatever, like invasion troops inside the city. And this is during the day, people could see him. And I was like, dude, this is incredible. How do you get this kind of footage? You know, these are just regular people, but you know, it's kind of what it's so powerful because you see this raw footage of you know real events happening, and this raw footage, and it's being posted all over social media, and it's given Twitter, it's given TikTok, it's given social media a whole new light. It's just like it's incredible, and also heartbreaking because you're seeing all these all this carnage and horror happening in the world, and you're getting a front row seat to all that.
Yeah, you would think they would have to record that surreptitiously because there's armed militants just walking around in the middle of the street, and the guy recording it is in the middle of the street too. You know, like it's crazy. But I guess that speaks to the whole thing about war and how like you're only supposed to take out enemy combatants and not civilians. Because like I would imagine that like if you're a civilian out there, you could be a target. Like you make the wrong move, or you do the wrong thing, or you're wearing the wrong thing, like you're in danger. But these guys are just walking out there with their phones, recording all of this stuff in real time and showing it to you on social media, and to me that's crazy.
And Royce, just to add on top of
Yeah.
what we're discussing here, I think the person who actually made all this possible was Biden, because I think President Biden, by sounding the alarm and telling everybody what was going to happen, everyone, like, because he was raising an alarm, sharing intelligence, and telling the whole world what Russia was going to do, suddenly it was all coming true. And social media is just, it became a buzz, right? They're like, oh my goodness, what else is going to happen? Is all this stuff really going to happen the way he played it out, like the way he described it, the way he laid it out? All this intelligence they have, like, are they really going to invade? Are they really going to go in and bomb, Ukraine? And as this happening, social media it was like brewing. He basically sounded the alarm, and all of social media became a buzz. And in 2014, when Russia invaded Crimea, that didn't happen. We kept it under wraps. We didn't share intelligence. We didn't rally our allies. We didn't, do all the things that we're doing now. And I think because it's really mobilized social media to, like, be 24/7 focused on this event, and it's actually having all sorts of repercussions because as the world was watching, all this outrage, this cancel culture that was very, very hazardous to our, mental health, it's turned it into something kind of positive because it's focused on the right things. Now you're being outraged by things that you're supposed to be outraged with: death, destruction, lies, deceit, carnage, killing. It's just all these. You're now outraged at the right things, right? And that's good. You should be outraged. You should take action. You should try to cancel this. This is worth canceling. Okay, right?
I think that's a credit to these founders that created these social media platforms like Zuck and Jack, the rest of the Twitter founders, the Instagram guys, the TikTok guys. It's really been a force for good, I think, in this case, but it's also been used as a force for not so good in the past as well. So, but it's good that I think that social media, at least at this point, has been playing
A positive role.
as opposed to
Yeah.
I agree. And it's funny, and it's all the things that we kind of found either divisive or negative in the past, I would say after past 5 years or maybe more, like things like, just general media, news media, like you hear a lot of, like, Republicans and Democrats kind of at each other's throats. You hear a lot of, partisanship and this discord in the world. But the voices have been pretty united. The news reporting, like I was talking to Royce just, today, I really admire those journalists that are on the ground right now, tweeting, barely sleeping, putting themselves in danger and reporting on things that are happening so that the world can know, like, there's, this is happening. People are dying. It gives journalism a whole, like, we kind of laugh at it before because, people report like the journalists, I don't know, prior to this, I didn't have a lot of respect for because they're all opinionated, they're all opinions, and they all have their agendas. They're all, like, kind of brainwashing their viewers into a certain point of view of things.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stop you there real quick and just ask a question. The war correspondents back in the day, do you think they were doing that back in the day? Like when let's say the Gulf War, when we had a ton of war correspondents for that. Do you think they were passing on an agenda back then? I mean,
no.
They're in harm's way. Like, they were war correspondents through history, photojournalists, and all of them. They're out there, man. They're like, it's crazy what they do.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about, like, the political analysts. That before the war, before this, Ukraine invasion.
Or just general media, I think, right? Like just
general media has been kind of,
Yeah, the media has been in a. It's been a sad state of affairs as a whole for the media for a while. So
yeah, and I think this kind of changed my viewpoint a little bit. It kind of, like, it brought out the right things about journalism, right? These are the things that journalists should be doing, like, to help us understand what's happening, to expose the corruption, the violence, the unwarranted violence that's happening over in Ukraine. Like, these are all the right things that they're, these people are doing
Right.
incredible work
So this
because
is
you're on the ground.
this is the reminder that journalism, when done right and done well,
Yeah,
it shows you why it exists.
right.
Yeah.
And to inform, and you guys are right about the social media thing, though. I mean, it really does. I mean, this unedited access to what's happening, like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it didn't have we didn't have a war like we didn't cover a war this way. This is the first time that social media has covered a war of this magnitude in this kind of detail. And we didn't. It didn't happen back in the Gulf War because in the Gulf War we didn't. There wasn't social media yet. People
Mhm.
didn't have Twitter access to their phones, recording live footage of like bombs dropping on buildings.
Mhm.
You got them through reporters and journalists that are there, and you usually get it with some delay, right?
Mhm.
But now it's literally in real time. You're watching live feeds from the capital of Ukraine. You're watching, people on their phones running around, chasing after tanks, like, taking photos of, taking videos of tanks driving through the road. It's incredible. You're seeing like charcoal bodies in some cases of people that are, soldiers that were bombed and killed. I mean, where are you gonna, where you couldn't see that, you know, during the Gulf War. You didn't have that kind of
Well,
coverage,
you weren't shown it. The
or you weren't
photo,
shown, or
yeah, the
No,
photos exist.
you
You weren't
well,
shown it
probably didn't see
well,
it.
but
Yeah.
also you weren't getting it in like near real
in
time either.
in the real time. Yeah,
Like,
I think
yeah,
the real time
that's a
fashion
big
is the part
difference.
that's really it's
Yeah.
really amazing.
Well,
So yeah, so on top of all that, just to kind of dovetail and kind of wrap this up a little bit, what's your quick opinion on the war and inflation and everything and its effect on the markets?
Oh man, that's
that's
tough, man.
Well,
I don't know what the Fed's gonna do because Fed's stuck, man. I mean, inflation's gonna get worse
yeah,
because
they got to raise aggressively.
with
They have to
yeah,
raise
I mean
aggressively.
they're gonna have to raise rates for sure. I don't know how. I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna increase the rates in the sense that it won't accelerate. It won't accelerate the rate hikes. I think it's gonna either it'll extend it out to next year. I don't think they're gonna suddenly raise 50 basis points, instead of 25. I don't think that's gonna happen because they still need stability in the markets and they need people to stay calm and they still need the market to function normally. So what they'll probably do is just gradually raise 25 basis points at every meeting till next year until they get to a point where inflation is more manageable. But I think the Fed's going to play the long game here. It's going to be a slow, steady rise in inflation for the next year and a half,
yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
They're in a really precarious position because rates are at the historic lows. Inflation is super high. There's not a lot of wiggle room that they have to really do anything. And now you throw in this whole like uncertainty around the war, cutting off Europe from like oil and gas from Russia. Like there's
Sorry to cut you off, Royce.
no
It brings up another point about like cryptos because we talked about cryptos a few times in the past, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you I was telling Royce like cryptos is, and a friend of mine also had the same view of like cryptos being kind of like the insurance policy for the end of the world, because if there's World War III, fiat currency isn't really, that's not going to be a thing that people will probably use. They'll probably use cryptos because, you know, uh, the countries, in a post World War III environment is probably not going to, I think the country's currencies will probably be in disarray, and people might want to be using cryptos, and that's kind of like an insurance policy in a way. Like if your only ways of kind of paying for stuff will be using cryptos. So that was kind of why I got into cryptos in the first place, was that concept of, okay, it's kind of like insurance policy. If something does happen bad in the world, well, we've got some kind of backup plan, to figure out how to pay for stuff. And I don't know if we've ever been this close to like the idea that some, Russia obviously is a nuclear power, and the events that happened in the last few days have been jarring, to say the least, right? So I mean, obviously we hope that things calm down and don't escalate. But I think the sanctions that are happening with the U.S. sanctioning Russia, I think that's going to have a lot of repercussions that might drive investments into crypto. I think crypto is actually, in some ways, kind of a way to bypass, stuff like the normal banking system, right? So if if you no longer have access to SWIFT and you have no way of sending money to people, like what would you do, right? You use cryptos, like that's a way around it, right? So if anything, it makes crypto kind of like a way to get around a lot of the things that people use traditional banking for. And this is kind of like an interesting use case here.
Yeah, the challenge might be though, when you say you can use crypto in exchange, but at some point in time when you have to convert to your fiat to pay for other things, that's where they're getting kind of blocked right now, aren't they? Because they can't use the banking system.
I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, if you have money stored in cryptos and you can use it, I mean, if you have a way to convert your local currency to crypto and then use that to send it out, to someone that you want to pay for goods or services for, I mean, that's one way to do it.
I think we're thinking about it in the wrong way. Like if you're paying for something in crypto, you don't really, if crypto is the de facto standard, you don't really care about what it converts into in fiat. Like you're
Right.
fine just taking the crypto that you're getting, and that's what I saw, like a picture of some people in Ukraine basically where they're accepting payments through like the typical things like PayPal and Cash App and stuff like that, but also through like Bitcoin, through Ethereum, through Zcash or whatever. And I think that's probably, if it comes to that, like that's probably what things will be like.
Yeah, I think it's going to increase adoption, and not for good reason, of course, but I think the ultimate result of this will be if they sanction Russia and anyone, and the Russian allies, like Belarus, I think those countries are going to turn to crypto and say, I can't use SWIFT to send you money, but crypto will be an interesting way to bypass that banking system and still get money across.
Yeah, the Swift card is going to be the biggest thing moving forward, whether or not they play that card. Because right now Swift is still operational. It hasn't been taken away.
But there's been banking sanctions, right? I mean, a few banks have already been kind of locked out of US dollars.
There's banking sanctions, but Swift is open. Swift is operational. That's the one sanction they haven't, because the collateral effect to Europe if you knock Swift out is big for them on the energy side.
Yeah. And if you're looking for and currency too, right? Like currency value, like if you're worried that your country's currency is going to devalue, you want to probably buy Tether, right? I was reading an article recently, I think it was on Cointelegraph, where they were talking about people are buying Tether because they want their wealth in a stable coin. They don't want their wealth in a local currency that's going to devalue over time.
Yeah. Oh my God, the crash in the ruble in the last couple of days, it's been so crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like an all-time, low compared to a dollar. I think it's like 80 something, right? 85 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that
per dollar. So its value has never been less compared to the dollar. And if you're, if you have all your wealth in rubles, you probably would rather have it in some stable coin. At least you know that, it's going to be pretty steady.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's doing to, people in Russia. Like it's gotta be awful.
Goodness.
Gotta be awful.
Yeah. And it's the common, citizen in Russia that's suffering, right? It's not the oligarchs who have, hundreds of billions of dollars to and they have other means of kind of, moving that money around. I mean, I'm sure they have their ways,
Yeah, it's all that wealth is stashed all over the world, right?
Yeah.
It's not in the ruble, for sure.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
No, their money is all over the place, and they can access it. Yeah, I mean, some of the banking system things will stymie some things they might do, but they'll always find a way. I mean, they're oligarchs, man. There's ways to move money. There's always a way to move money. So let's turn the conversation a little bit to real quick before we kind of wrap up the show here to the metaverse. And like, do both of you think that if things go crazy in this world, that the metaverse is the escape everyone needs, and it's gonna speed the development of the metaverse and its adoption and usage?
Hell yeah. I'm gonna say that. Hell yeah.
You know, Royce just recently got an Oculus. I don't know if you
We-
told the
we
audience.
know-
Oh no!
we
Oh,
talked
we,
about
no,
this
we
last
talked
time,
about it
actually.
in the
We
last
did, yeah, we did.
episode. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I
Okay.
just told him I don't want to know what he does in private
Ken,
on Oculus.
Ken, I told him he needs to buy one, and we need to play poker and blackjack
Yes.
in that
Steve.
metaverse, dude.
Steve, you got to get one. You got to get one to play some
You
poker
got
with
you
us.
got to listen.
Hey,
Because I told Royce the same thing. I said, Royce, you got to get one, and then after you experience it, we'll talk. Okay? Because you got to get one now.
we are a legitimate company in this podcast now, so Oculus is definitely a company expense. So that's probably gonna happen.
Awesome. So that's a great question, Steve. Like, do you think the war and all the stuff that's happening is going to accelerate the metaverse adoption? And I think the answer is yes. It's kind of counterintuitive because I think I heard this conversation today. I was having lunch, and there's two people next to me, and they're talking about NFTs, cryptos, investing, and then they're talking about the metaverse.
Wait. Where you at, sushi?
I was at the next door, the other restaurant, but the noodle place. But so one of the guys was there. So they were just basically agreeing that, don't buy NFTs because no one's gonna give a shit about NFTs because it's like who's gonna care about the metaverse or NFTs while the war is going on, where there's a potential war going on, and I thought, man, these guys have obviously not read Snow Crash or have not seen Ready Player One because like that's the entire movie, right? I mean,
Yep.
That was like a dystopian society where life in the real world sucked, right?
You need an escape. You need a cheap escape. Yes.
So if the world does become so daft and terrible and unbearable, everyone's going to want to be in the metaverse, right? I mean, that's
You should have said.
kind of the purpose of it.
That is the purpose. You should have said "sell to me."
Like I think the adoption is going to come from
to me.
Well, it's going to be like this. It's going to be okay. If the real world is more fun than the metaverse, why would you want to be in a metaverse? Right? It's like, okay, if the metaverse experience is less than the real world, it's like a lesser version of it, then why would you want to be in there? Right? The whole point of it is it's all relative, right? The worse your real life is, the more you're going to want to be in this metaverse. You know what I mean? Like if you're a billionaire and you've got, tons of lady friends with you, you got a huge yacht, like you live in the crazy, you live in a Jeff Bezos lifestyle, right?
Hey, Ken. Hold on, Ken. Yeah. It's not just lady friends. Because what if the billionaire's a woman? It could have guy friends.
True. Or guy friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
guys and guys. I mean, everything.
Guy friends. Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely true. So my point is just, you got all these rich gazillionaires and they're living an incredible dream life. They're not going to spend any time in the metaverse. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they would because their life is great.
Money ain't happiness for a lot of people.
True, but if your life is great, you wouldn't want to spend a lot of time in the metaverse. You'd rather spend it in the real world. That's my premise. But if your life isn't good, right? If you're not living the kind of lifestyle or you're not happy or whatever, like the environment around you is not, like you have more fun, more friends, more social interactions on the metaverse, you're going to want to be on there more. So it's really just relative, right? If all your social connections, if all the experiences you're having that is giving you joy and happiness is in the metaverse, you're going to want to be there.
Yeah, no, I will say that like one use case is that if we can't be in Vegas playing blackjack, we can be in the metaverse playing blackjack. That is actually pretty fun. That is actually pretty fun to me, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
And would we able to wager? Would we be able to wager a world coin with each other? Let's say we're in one of the worlds in NFT worlds.
Oh yeah,
we're playing there.
Yep.
We're gambling with world coin, right?
100%.
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
So I've been told that there's like an Oculus type mod that you can use to play Minecraft on the Oculus, and if that experience does eventually become possible on something like an Oculus or one of those VR platforms, then absolutely you can be gambling. You could be sitting in a virtual sports gaming room where you could be betting on the latest games and looking at the scores, and drinking a fake martini, I mean, it's all possible. We're doing that, Royce, in the poker lounge,
Oh
right?
yeah, we were doing that. That was
We're
it's so
smoking
fun, dude.
cigars and lighting up
You gotta
cigarettes.
get lighting up cigarettes, giving cigarettes to people
I never
that they
smoked
were
a cigarette in
probably
my entire life, but I smoked at least like half a dozen in that game.
and
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
surreal. I was telling Royce I had this fun experience. Like, so there was a drone. Okay, you can buy a drone in the poker game, and I was and you can control the drone with your joystick, like this. On the Oculus you have a little joystick, and
Mhm.
so in the metaverse, I was holding a joystick, much like the one I was holding in real life, and I was controlling the joystick much like I was controlling the joystick in real life, and the
Mhm.
plane was moving exactly the way that I was controlling the
Mhm.
joystick. But I
As long as
forgot
as long as
I
you're not
forgot
talking
that,
in metaphors about playing with a joystick, okay? I just want to make sure we're talking about joystick.
but the thing is, I forgot that I was controlling the plane. I thought I was controlling the plane, but I was actually controlling the joystick that controlled the plane. Like I was not like I lost track of what I was actually
Yeah,
controlling. I wasn't really controlling the plane with my joystick. I was controlling the controller
yeah.
like, inside
But
the
but
game.
that's what Royce was saying in the last episode. Like he just got sucked in. You just get pulled
Yeah, it
in.
was so weird. I had to like step back.
yeah, your mind gets tricked
Yeah,
because
you're
it's the,
totally
like your eyes,
yeah.
right? Like yeah, it's very strange feeling.
I think when they have the haptic gloves and more like it's still very early, but it's so fun though. Like just even the experiences that are kind of limited right now, it is fun. It is really really
Hmm.
fun being in there. It's like the early
It is.
1990s internet, where
Hmm.
the AOLs and you're like, oh, I'm talking to
Hmm.
someone in Europe. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I'm
Hmm.
actually sitting there typing with someone over 1,000 miles away or thousands of miles away.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that, because we were in the metaverse playing poker with people that were. One guy was in the UK, and he was talking about like, oh, his fiance got him the Oculus for, as a present, and he was just, he's not, he was like thousands of miles away, but we're playing.
Yeah.
He's right next to me. I was like looking at him. We're like talking to each other. Our head movements, our mouth movements are matching. Like it looks like I was talking to the guy. Felt like it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. It's very similar to the early internet. Like that was the first time when you could communicate with people that
Hmm.
weren't in your immediate area.
Hmm.
And to me, this is just the next step because like you're doing the same communication, but like you're physically represented there.
Hmm.
Um, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Steve's gonna log on next time, and we're gonna have to do one. We're gonna have to do another
No,
podcast to talk
definitely,
about it.
Oh, we will.
definitely. You need to get
Um,
dude.
I'll go get the Oculus. We'll go play, and we can go. Come back and talk about it on the show. With that, let's kind of wrap things up. Ken, any last thoughts before we head out here?
I guess last thought is just pray for the soldiers and the citizens in Ukraine, man. It's heartbreaking listening to some of the stories going on over there, and kind of puts your life into perspective, puts things into perspective, about your own life and how lucky you are that you're not in that crazy, dangerous, and just it makes you feel grateful that you're safe, and also feel a lot of empathy for the folks over there, suffering and scared. So I think that it's always good to kind of put things in perspective, right? Little things that you worry about every day, maybe you shouldn't worry about it too much because whatever it is that you're facing can't be any worse than what those folks over there are facing right now.
Royce?
Yeah, no, I will say the same thing for me. I mean, like watching and seeing what's been happening in real time, with this war and seeing the impact, the human impact of how it's affected like not only Ukrainians but some of the Russian people as well that just want peace and just want to be able to live, live their lives safely and with food, shelter, and all those things. Like it really puts things into perspective. That's what I've been thinking about the last couple of days, to be honest with you, and it just drives home the point that I always talk about this with Ken is that Father Time's coming for us all. Nobody's gonna make it out of this alive. So, value the time that you have, take advantage of the time that you have. Don't get caught up in the pettiness, that can sometimes take control, and just appreciate appreciate that. Like for us to even be here on this planet, it's like a 1 in a million thing.
Yeah.
Just to be born here. So
Well,
super deep.
on that note, Royce, excited to see you in a few days when you come back home.
Yep.
And end up accidentally going clubbing in board shorts and slippers. But, whatever.
That sounds like a
Hey, that
really
was great,
fun.
dude.
That was awesome.
And go watch.
That was
and go watch
that was
Children of
awesome.
Men, you guys. Okay, go watch it. It's a good film.
We'll just
Only
have
if
to
Royce
watch
will
that.
cuddle with me while we're watching it. That's all I ask.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
no. And on that note,
On the note.
On that note, guys, thank you for
on
listening,
that note,
and we will be back hopefully in another week. All right,
in
see
a
you
week.
guys.
All right.
See ya.